Hi everyone, this is Joanna Filatovic for you. And today I invited someone special. Oh, my guests are very, very special. And today I invited filmmaker from Los Angeles, martial artist, a teacher of Qi-gong, yogi, and a student of Shaolin. Welcome to my YouTube, Ark Brooks. Hi there, how are you
Thank
doing
you.
this
It's a
morning?
pleasure. Joanna, it's good to see you.
Pleasure to see you one more time after some time.
Indeed.
Yeah, we are going to talk about current situation in the world, what's happening from your perspective and from the perspective of who you represent, from the perspective of a father seeing the future of their kids, from the perspective of African American culture. And I would like to stay away from the colors black, white, yellow, green, blue, orange,
Right, right.
because personally for me it gives a bad connotation anyhow, and we may touch very, very sensitive matters here. Um,
Right.
so everything what you observe right now, what's happening, what do you think the world needs right now? How do you see the current situation? What are your impressions? Everything you would like to share.
Well, first, when you look at the notion of color, that was a tool that was used in order to engineer, to make money, in order to utilize a particular group of people to make money initially. The founding of the society here, the fuel for the society came off the free labor of the Africans that were imported, and obviously the native people who were here were uh, pretty much almost wiped out, and so at that point, they moved forward. Things changed. It wasn't so convenient for the slavery to continue, and a lot of people died and fought for it. But then you have instances where um, blacks and working class whites were, not happy with the pay they were receiving and the treatment, and they kind of got together and started to protest and like kind of like what you see today. I mean, this is a little bit more. There's more turbulent stuff happening as far as, but we had similar sort of stuff happening, and
Yeah.
so they introduced these colors, and they gave and this whole notion of white privilege or whatever. So they made white a little bit higher than black. So even if you were poor, you were better than black people, and it took and it worked, and it helped to divide. And so that's what you see in the climate of America today. Now they have these political parties, and there's a ton of misinformation, and there's exacerbation of this concept or idea of division. When everybody pretty much wants the same thing. I mean, if they were to actually focus in on the Constitution and try and apply that to all the citizens, regardless of race, creed, culture, etc., then you would not have this mess. But because we have such a poisonous back
Mhm.
history, uh, it is infiltrated into current times, and it is actually being orchestrated in a way um, by groups of people who have, their interest is to keep things in turmoil so they can continue to
Mhm.
make money and do what they want to do. And you don't have the blacks, whites, Hispanic, Latino, Chinese, whoever is marginalized in the country. They are not um, going to cause problems for the people who are holding the power. And so it's really it's a multi-tiered and super complex situation. Um,
Mm.
but that just kind of looks at the bottom, kind of like more of the causal, the karmic sort of thing that's going on. Um, but a lot of real activity that needs to start happening is people have to start tapping into that original nature. And that's one of the good things about the Qi-gong and the yoga practices and things more spiritual, because you're tapping into an underlying reality. And when I say focus on reality, so what's being brought into the physical has an origin, but what we find is that people are always at the effect. They're always operating at the effect, so they can't do anything but create more of the same effect. So you have to go. My advice is to go inward and to start operating from a dimension that is much more formidable, much more powerful as far as causal, rather than kind of these surface things like, oh, it's skin color, or this person talks with this accent, or blah blah blah. These sorts of things are an enrichment. You know, when you're making a pot of stew or whatever you're doing, you want pepper and a little bit dash of salt and a little bit of parsley, and you don't want to just throw in a bunch of salt and then that's your stew. So what we're doing as humans is we are limiting ourselves and preventing ourselves from being able to taste the fullness of what all the different humans have created. You know, it's just a wonderful thing if you look at the various cultures around the world and how resilient the human is. But we're away from that, and we're operating from a survival instinct, and anything that's different is a threat to our survival. And we've got to grab this and get that, and so this is being played and toyed with through meditation, through yoga practices and Qi-gong and things like that. That reduces the crazy, or reduces the survival, because there's no, pending doom, with the exception of what we've seen with the police and stuff like that. But
yeah, do you feel like it's accelerating right now? It's stronger, in order that it comes out stronger, in order so people have to do something with it, because there is this fight, violence with violence, but what else to do? We can put ourselves in a different positions and understand the rage, understand the anger, understand the frustration. It all comes from something.
What we need to do is to hold the law enforcement to the standard that they took their vows for. So humans, citizens of the country, need to be able to intervene in these circumstances. I don't necessarily know exactly how to do that. I know that we have militias, which are significantly white. There was a time when you had the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers would, if they saw you pull someone over, they would get out and oversee what's going on to make sure that Black people weren't being brutalized. It looks like we're kind of headed back in that direction a little bit. But if you're tuned in to Minneapolis, you will see that whites, Blacks, everybody's in the street. It's not just race, and it's primarily a lot of white people. I mean, the human brain does not like injustice. And what we've seen is the height of injustice. And so everybody is standing up. Now, I don't know the methods and everything. Right now, there's a lot of rage and a high upset. And that's because the brain has been triggered. The survival mechanism has been triggered, and people are very, very volatile right now because of what they have witnessed and what they've seen, the injustice. And so that is going to take some time to die down. There's no magic wand that can be waved in order to bring that gentleman back to life and to de-traumatize all the people who've had to watch this murder happen on television. I surround myself with plants and other living things to try to stay grounded. Sadhguru talks about stepping into the dirt and earth, getting your hands in dirt, just to stay grounded. That's one method, one thing that people can do.
You are actually using those methods every day in your life. I believe that what I saw, and all of us saw in internet and in news, it brings a certain strong emotions that we have to respond. So some of the people go to the front line of what's happening, and they take every hit of that emotion on themselves. there is this other balance, what you're talking about, when you practice, when you teach others how to ground themselves.
Yes.
Everyone is different here. How do you apply this, your personal practice? How do you teach people what they can do if they feel that rage? What is best to do? How do they practice? How they can go on through life? What is the perspective now? I'm throwing a lot of questions with you, but it's just for inspiration for the most dominant thought that you have right now that's most important to share with those who are who are there in this position of having to fight or withdraw or whatever needs to be.
Well, destruction is a part of life, and it appears that what has been required is what is going on. And so you have people who are criticizing the violence that is occurring, but the violence was created, and I think people really have to ground themselves. One thing is, it's important that you do not spend your entire day
Mm-hmm.
watching the news, replaying the murder. See, that you need to be aware that that existed and that occurred, and you need to respond to that. But if you were to watch that over and over again, it's traumatizing. And I think that people are spending a substantial amount of time on the internet watching and seeing the riots. And I'm not saying that people should tune out, but what I am saying is that you need to ground yourself to be able to put things in their appropriate perspective. And you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to be able to do that if you're just sitting up and constantly watching that stuff, and you don't have any spiritual practices that you're engaging in this time of crisis. So take some time out is my advice, and do some breathing exercises like Qi-gong. And I've got to get the 7-year-old something to eat. Hold on one second.
That's fantastic what you're doing right now, because I know nobody knows that, maybe people who will listen to you later on, that you are a father. You keeping your calmness, you keeping your practice, but you're not living in the cave. You're living in a full place of people who need you every moment. That's what you're doing. But you
Yeah,
still
they
live
call it a lay monk. I'm like a lay monk. I'm not in the temple away from society. I'm right in the center, in the
you are in
middle
the
of it
middle.
all.
Hmm.
And it is highly explosive to be in the center of it. But some of us are there to be grounding rods for people, including ourselves. I mean, it's so I have the full range of emotions just like anyone else, but those emotions are not my masters. See,
Hmm.
I am here to utilize the emotions, and those are signals. So
Hmm.
I have to translate that into what's going to make my existence better. And so some of the tools that we have that I'm utilizing once again is the Qigong, is the yoga, is the yoga practice, which is a form of meditation. I don't mean just twisting my arm around my back and over my head. I mean the yoga as far as breath control and becoming a master of your existence. Everybody needs to master their own existence in life so they can give themselves the happiness that they need in the midst of the current and the crazy. Because the current and the crazy is not going to just disappear and go anywhere.
Hmm.
And to the extent that we're able to rein it in a bit, if we're able to rein it in and see where the storm is and turn into the waves, if anyone's been on the seas, you have to turn into the waves. If you panic and go crazy and curse the waves, that's not
Yeah.
very powerful. The waves will tear the boat apart, tear you apart, and
Yeah.
you'll be done. So rather than to do that, so you can make the appropriate actions. You can take the appropriate steps. Sometimes, you know, you need to introduce an element of power and anger. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to be in control of that. Well, you don't have to be. It's better for you if you are aware and you are conscious and you are utilizing that energy to bring about a certain
Mm-hmm.
effect. You're trying to do this. You want to bring attention to an issue. You want to uh, make sure this person doesn't feel comfortable with doing certain things with you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want this person to touch you. I mean, even when you're talking about self-defense for women who are or men, when you see an assailant, if you make eye contact, there's certain things that you do in order to
Mm-hmm.
fend off an opponent or someone who's looking for the opportunity to take advantage or do something horrible. Um, so it all the answers actually are inside of the human. All
Mm-hmm.
the answers that you need for your life are right there. And so people like me, I just try to help to bring some of that out as I'm bringing it out of myself. You have other people like Paramahansa Yogananda, Sadhguru. These people have reached a high level on the evolutionary plane. So just being around them will help to quicken some of these attributes because we have this high intelligence that's constantly accessible. And so we have to find ways to give ourselves to that intelligence so that we can make the appropriate decisions in every aspect, in every area of our lives. And so to the extent that we're uh, doing that, then we start rising with the current and we start, uh, like Jesus made the storm go away. And what happens is that unfortunately, we look at that and we're in awe and we love the story, but we don't have the practical application of those things
Oh, good.
sometimes. And so people really need to get grounded. You become much more powerful, Christian, Muslim, Jew, whatever it is that you're doing, if you ground yourself and you use the tools that are given to you by the earth and by the elements, and then you can start to have another level of understanding of what all of these
Mm-hmm.
giants that we worship or follow or call ourselves disciples, whatever words and terminology you want to use,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes evident when people can see it in your action, when they can see it in your presence or feel it in your presence, when they can sense, okay, this person is plugged in uh, to life as life, as opposed to against life or to I'm going to control life and make it bend its will to me. No, I am life, and so
Mm-hmm.
uh, so that's where you have your practices come from.
Exactly, that you are talking about application because it sounds so simple. I think for a lot of people it will sound very simple, just ground yourself. But I don't know if many of us, we don't know what does that mean. Someone who practices martial arts, we
Hmm.
know very well that Bruce Lee didn't just had it. Jesus didn't just had it. Every dancer, I barely practice martial art for some time, but I am very aware how long it takes to master your emotions, to control, to connect with feeling. And as you teach others
Right.
Qi-gong, you feel the rise of energy in your body probably. That means if you control that, you very likely are able to control your emotions. So people who are right now going through very tough time, they are, in the rage, frustration, they're on the front line of what's happening around them. What would be the first step that you can help them to ground themselves in something? Would it be a briefing? Would it be a thought? Would it be a
I would
complexity?
start with breathing, deep, uh, deep breathing. Whether you're doing a lower
Mm-hmm.
abdomen breath, or even if you're doing a thoracic sort of breath, there's ways that you can use the breath in order to put you into a much more peaceful place. And also, take your shoes off and go outside and step in the dirt, step in
Mm-hmm.
the earth, not just concrete. Okay, not that. I mean, like, just get out and step into that dirt, and then do the breath there, and listen to your body, listen to the energy, and when you hear and see the thoughts, just kind of allow those thoughts to kind of go. You know, in other words, thoughts come up, and what we find is ourselves riding on those thoughts and letting those thoughts build, because we kind of have it built in for the thoughts to just keep going. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you see the thoughts and you just remind yourself, oh man, you know, wow, the mind is really sending a lot of thoughts around. Let me reground myself into the earth. Let me feel the bottom of my feet touching to the earth. And the thoughts are fine. Just let them do what they're doing. And you're just reminded by those thoughts that it's important for you to ground yourself. And so that's just the beginning practice. Using the breath, breathe in through your nose
Mm-hmm.
and hold for 2 or 3 seconds, and then exhale out. And then breathe in. And if you can, you can even do a count. Count to 10. And then exhale for 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm. It slows down the breathing, slows down the emotion.
And
Mm-hmm.
it supplies the oxygen to the blood way more, and it starts to stimulate the brain in ways that you weren't stimulating it before. And that's a good place to start. And then it helps to clear your thinking up a bit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to if you want to get somewhere, you have to start the journey. So if
Somewhere.
you're looking for peace, if you're looking for to be in alignment with nature and in alignment with what the creator intended for you, then you have to pursue that. You have to pursue that with everything. You have to constantly pursue that with everything. If you looked at the movie The Last Samurai, it was great the way they captured the culture of doing what people would consider to be mundane things in a masterful way. They poured themselves fully into the activity. And when it was time to defend and to fight or whatever, they did that with a mastery, with a masterful approach. So we have to get back to mastering ourselves, but we have to stoke that thirst in ourselves, and we have to actually realize that there's a possibility. Look at the possibilities. There's possibilities that you have not even begun to unearth. So that should be exciting. And once you get that hunger for that and you start pursuing that, then everything that you need will be attracted to you. Whatever you need. I mean, if you need a Qi-gong teacher, here they are. You know, if you need Shaolin, it shows up. If you need a yogi instructor, boom, you've got one. Here he is on the YouTube talking to you. So whatever it is that you need is there, but you actually have to start to begin to somewhere and start looking for it.
Exactly, because
Take
you
something and
know,
practice. Yeah.
staying in the fear, anger, in the rage, it's so addictive for a lot of people, because you are kind
Yeah.
of, triggered. Take you are taken with the wave of that, with that motion. It takes some willingness and intent to stop and go in another way every day.
Right. It does. But one thing that I find to be powerful is to acknowledge that whatever it is you're feeling, don't just try and stuff it down. You have to, I don't know, you have to allow
Mm-hmm.
and the emotion to exist and give yourself permission to be human. And then from there, oh, there's Mr. Squirrel. He's come over to, I've got the seeds for the birds out here. I made part of my sadhana, my spiritual practice, to feed the birds every day. So before I feed myself or anybody else, I put some food out for nature. And anyway, the squirrel, he's coming to try and sneak over here and get some of the food from the birds.
Nice. See, you are already started another topic. I don't even have to ask you a question. I supposed to ask you some of the questions, but you already answered them when I was thinking them. My next question, just coming right now, was about coming back to this nature, something that is really grounding. And you already said about score and feeding the, yeah.
go and do some, do something uh, for the for nature, for just so you can get plugged back in to who you
Yourself.
already are. It's not you're not. People make things too extra. Just
Yeah.
you are indigenous to the planet. So act like it. Act like an indigenous person. Stop acting like, this. One of the benefits of this freaking quarantine is that people have had to sit still. Now, are they taking advantage of it? Are they plugging it back into who they are? See, if we knew who we were or who we are, then that would start to evaporate a substantial amount of things off the tops. Immediately, it changes your what you're doing, your perspective, the messages that are going through the brain. So these are just little small practices that you can do to begin to plug yourself back into reality. If you're a Bible person, you look, one of the good examples gives you kind of is when Job got upset because all the crazy was going on, and he questions the Creator, and the Creator says, "Where were you when the hungry lions were asking for food and I wouldn't fed them?" And there's different examples in there. And so, do you want to be one of these lions that the universe comes to their aid? Then you have to plug into that stuff. You can't be just running around here trying to control everything and not engaging with nature. You are nature. Nature is you. Learn something from the indigenous people, which everybody descended from the indigenous people. So there's no need. You don't have to worry about, oh my God, am I indigenous? I don't know what yes, yes, you are. You're indigenous to somewhere. And so take a look at some of the practices. Don't look at it so much like, in our world, the Judeo-Christian, there's a lot of emphasis on, oh, these people are heathens, or, you don't have to go and bite off anything's head or do anything that would be extreme. But just start to look at some of the indigenous practices. You start to see the connections between them. You can see practices in India that are the same in South America. You can see practices in South America that are the same practices in Africa. You can see practices in Africa that are the same practice in Europe. You can see things that were built by people who traveled. There's a lot of rich stuff out there, and if you connect with that stuff, then it starts to create this thing inside of you that you can reference. The intelligence that's inside of you, that's pumping your heart, that's causing you to breathe, that's allowing this experience to happen. Why not be one with that? Why not figure out how to be one with this extraordinary intelligence? And rather than relying only on
logic mind,
I have a brain, and so that is the brain. We have allowed the brain to be our master. We have taken our CPU and we have put it on automatic, and what the CPU tells us, then we just automatically accept and do. No, you have to step behind, step back.
it is wrong. It is wrong. This navigation system is so wrong sometimes.
Well, it's a wonderful, powerful tool. See, tool. If you look at it as a tool, you don't let the hammer go around and do whatever the hell it wants to do. The hammer is not hammering everything. Oh, I got a hammer in my hand, so I'm just going to smash. No, oh, wait a minute. This is a screw. I need to use this. I need to use a screwdriver for this, or I need to use a drill for this, or I need to. So we have to start looking at our bodies as a housing unit, but also as a tool for our experience. The body is here to help you have this human experience and for you to engage on behalf of this ultimate intelligence while you're on the earth plane. So if we have that as
you said you have the body. You didn't say you are the body. You said that.
Yeah, you're not the body. The body is simply you are the very nature that causes the body to come into existence. At least an aspect of you, the underlying reality that, and when I say underlying, it's only underlying because you're not paying any attention to it. We're not paying any attention to it. So the minute we take our attention and place it on that underlying current that's the causal. See, be at the cause. Who wants to be at the effect? Oh shit! Look what happened. No, stop that. You know what I mean? Figure out different ways
Mm-hmm.
to be at the cause.
That's
Use the breath. Focus your energy, and if you don't know how to do that, start inwardly asking how to do it, and then people are going to show up to give you the tools that you
mm-hmm.
need. They're already there. They're waiting for you. Waiting.
The teachers are there. When
They're
you
waiting.
go into silence, when you go into your own practice, when you connect to the essence of who you are, can you share so people have a little bit more guidance there?
Mm-hmm.
What, how you experience, how you feel, how you are. If I say, what do you think, who you are, it's not really a good question here because what are you experiencing as an essence when you are very much connected with you?
You are experiencing bliss. I think the one thing that yeah, in reality, the Sadhguru has a chant, Brahmananda Swarupa Isha Jagadisha Akilananda Swarupa Isha Maisha or Swarupa. So what we're talking about here is symbolizing that the highest thing, the king of all existence is bliss. The underlying reality is bliss. So this perfect blissfulness is what you experience over time as
Mm-hmm.
you begin to do the practice. So you go into the practice and you experience bliss, and the clarity comes to you, and you begin to enjoy your being.
Yeah. Do you agree that only from that perspective you can see the reality of the world around you? Or how do you perceive the world around you being in the bliss, being this?
Well, it gives you a better perspective so that you can actually go, uh, you can plug into somewhere other than the chaos that you are constantly witnessing. So, and it gives you kind of it gives you another perspective on things. So
Mhm.
you start looking at things differently. Like, the Zen say, before enlightenment, chop the wood, before enlightenment, after enlightenment, chop the wood. Um, and it just means that you are still going to engage in your worldly practice. It's just you're bringing an entirely different energy to it, and it becomes an enjoyment to engage in even the most mundane things. When I get up in the morning, I get up and I do different meditations and stuff. I sweep off my porch. All of these are sadhana. All these are spiritual practices. I'm bringing order to things. It becomes a much more blissful sort of way to do things. I wash the dishes, prepare food for the kids. All of that stuff can be extraordinary. I even I listen to audiobooks while I'm doing things too. So
Mhm.
I get my story going, as a filmmaker, and I'm always trying to listen to story. So I'm listening to the characters and what they're going through, so I can um, add that to my ability to understand. Authors who are really good, so I can understand character arc and all this other stuff. So I utilize these things, and I make it a part of my daily practice, my daily sadhana. So um, that's what happens for me every day, and it's much easier to do now that I'm actually not leaving and going anywhere. I mean, I'll be happy to go back, back in the workforce. But while I have time, I'm utilizing this to create the best uh, existence I can have. And if folks start going inward, then they're going to find that this life becomes bliss,
Yeah.
and instead of becoming the other. It's not like you don't experience any of the other emotions, but when you go in and when you come out and come back into the world, you make a much bigger impact, a much better effect. Like Bruce Lee says, I don't hit, it hits all by itself. So it doesn't
Mhm.
mean that you do not participate and that you do not create and engage and deal with injustice and other stuff in the world. It's just how you deal with it. You become much more of a power broker. You become much more of a creator-like, as opposed to being some sort of victim.
You said
Even,
that cause and effect. You are
even,
influencer.
exactly. Even the ant doesn't see himself as lowly as some of the humans. The ant takes care of business. He carries himself with confidence. So take the confidence of an ant with you as you go into your day-to-day practice. As you go into your day-to-day life. Be confident as the ant, and you will see extraordinary results.
Let's give a minute to you as a filmmaker, because I think you said quite enough for the guidelines of the practice, spiritual practice, and you have your own circle of your students. I don't know if you take new or whatever is, the lockdown right now, whatever is happening, but you are very busy now with some movies, right?
Yes. Right now I have a documentary called The Black Past, and we're in different stages with that. It's kind of related to what's happening around the world. It focuses in on a white young man who thinks he is black.
Okay.
And as he is given this so-called black privilege, he starts to experience some of the difficulty that black people experience, and he's, it's a shocker. But it's really a comedy. It's but we address a lot of the crazy stuff, and the art actually was done by Ron Will, who was a juvenile lifer. He had some very, very tumultuous childhood and got involved in some very bad behavior as a minor, and then they obviously they arrested him and they treated him like a minor. I mean, treated him like an adult because of the hubris of the crime. And he recently, while he was in prison, I reached out to him, and he was able to paint the storyboard for the piece. So we're doing like a kind of a documentary quasi hybrid documentary. So it kind of talks about his journey a bit and mine a little bit, but it focuses, and then also it has the story about the white guy that's trying to be black, which is hilarious. So it kind of tries to balance out some of the ugliness of with some humor, and just to show the absurdity of the whole racism madness.
It's amazing you reach out like that to someone and you have this idea. I think it's so important for the also creative art, for the art, and
yeah. So we're working on that. It's great that that's happening, and I also have I have a project that I'm actually writing right now, and we're doing a short 100% comedy animation. I'm working with my team. It's an international team that's working to put this thing together. India and different parts of America, different people are contributing and putting it together. So, but you can find out about the Black Pass at the website theblackpass.net. And it's got a preliminary thing in there, and I'm going to be putting a lot more information in there.
When it's going to be released?
Well, now that's not determined yet because there's so many different parts of it. We're not sure whether we're going to just finish financing it and doing it all ourselves, or there's some talks with a couple of studios. So I don't have a determination on that just yet. But the other one, the Beverly Hills Ratchets, which is about a black female inventor who invents this amazing hair tonic, and she's in a very poverty-stricken neighborhood, and it's kind of like the Beverly Hillbillies. She invents this stuff, and it makes her rich, and she moves out to Beverly Hills, and she finds out that the Beverly Hills is just as crazy as it is living in the rough neighborhood that she came from. That the people there are just as, and this it's a comedy animation, so that will, you know, we're gonna start doing releasing some short videos to build momentum before we release that one. So I'm in the process of that, and probably, you know, within the next month we should have some clips going up from that animation as well.
All right. Would you like to share any final thoughts you have? I think we have, yeah, we got pretty enough information for the very, very beginning. And if people would like to have something more, ask more questions about your practice, about your filmmaking, I will leave the link under the video so you can learn.
Okay, absolutely. Just reach out to me at you can email me, or you can go to the Black Pass site. I'm not sure what sort of, I have to look at that. I don't know if there's an email on there, but you can at least look and see what's going on, and then use my contact information if anybody's interested in anything I'm doing. I'm also doing gardening stuff. If there's, you know, seeds and stuff like that, I'm sending them out to people so they can grow and start and feed themselves and get connected to the earth. Like I was saying, get your hands in the dirt, get out there in there and start making stuff, watching stuff grow. That process is important. It's important for your children to see that there's an actual process to everything that they want to do, whether it's playing an instrument or baseball or whatever it is. They're not going to be the best the first time they touch it. They have to see that there's a process involved. Anyway, so so any of those sorts of things, I'm open to talking to people about and helping in whatever way I can.
That's fantastic. We are looking forward for questions. If you have something more to add, I'm happy to connect people to people. So let us know. You can also comment under the video. Thank you very much for sharing with us today.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
And pleasure from my side. And we are going to talk some more very, very soon. Have
Indeed.
a lovely day, everyone out there. And let us know, what do you think? Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.